This is a video of the Titan submersible lying on the ocean floor, which disappeared in 2023. On June 18, 2023, at 9:19 in the morning, the Titan submersible was lowered into the North Atlantic Ocean to view the famous wreckage of the unsinkable Titanic. For the 5 people aboard, this was going to be an exciting expedition, as they were about to witness and experience the Titanic shipwreck 3,800 meters deep for the first time, and also the last time. About an hour and a half later, contact with the Titan was lost. What happened to the Titan, and whether the passengers on board were still alive, became the topic of discussion worldwide for the next 2 days. After 2 days of search operations, news finally came that the search team had found some scattered parts of the Titan, indicating that no one had survived inside the submersible. Now, for the first time, new and official details of the Titan submersible incident have come to the fore. After investigation, the U.S. Coast Guard has made public the conversations between the Titan and its mothership, Polar Prince. What communications took place between the Titan and the mothership from the ocean depths, what they saw near the Titanic shipwreck, and what was the last message received by the mothership before the signal was lost. Before we start, make sure to like this video and subscribe our channel. After a year and a half, the U.S. Coast Guard has for the first time released video footage of half of the Titan's hull, which can be seen alone, desolate at a depth of 3,775 meters on the ocean floor. It appears to be the rear part of the submersible, which means the part that exploded was the front, where all 5 passengers were seated. In another video released by the Coast Guard, the front part of the submersible is also shown, completely destroyed, with pieces of carbon fiber scattered on the ocean floor. This proves that the front part of the Titan imploded due to the pressure of the ocean, meaning the water pressure first crushed the front hull, and the rear part broke off due to the same pressure. The part found at the ocean's bottom was discovered by a remote-controlled submersible sent by Pelagic Research Services on June 22, 2023, 3 days after contact with the Titan was lost. Amazingly, the wreckage of the submersible that went to see the Titanic was found just 1,600 feet away from the Titanic itself. But you'll be even more astonished to know that a first-class ticket for the Titanic cost only £150 112 years ago, which, when converted into today's currency, amounts to $4,300. The passengers aboard the Titan had purchased a $105,000 ticket to see the Titanic wreck. While the Titan descended into the dark depths of the Atlantic Ocean, contact with the Polar Prince above was maintained for about an hour and a half. There were 3 tourists aboard the Titan, a well-known businessman from Dubai and adventure sports enthusiast, Hamish Harding, and 2 members of a Pakistani family, Shahzada Dawood and his son, Suleiman Dawood. Among the crew was the operator of the Titan and the owner of OceanGate, Stockton Rush, as well as Paul-Henri Narjolet, a 77-year-old Titanic shipwreck expert who had visited the RMS Titanic wreck dozens of times. After this accident, everyone wanted to know what exactly happened at the bottom of the ocean that caused the Titan to implode. At the moment the Titan lost contact, the U.S. Navy's underwater sensors had detected a strange sound, which was considered unnatural. This sound raised many questions about its source. Was it an attack by a sea creature, or was it some kind of SOS signal? While this matter was still ongoing, and people hadn't yet received answers to their questions, a news article surfaced about the Titan submersible's past record. It revealed that in 2018, OceanGate's Director of Operations, David Lockridge, had been fired by CEO Stockton Rush because he had raised several questions about the Titan's safety. The Titan was a submersible designed and developed by Stockton Rush himself, and its body was primarily made of carbon fiber, which was not extensively tested or certified for deep-sea adventures, making it an experimental submersible. It hadn't been certified by any department. David Lockridge had repeatedly told OceanGate's CEO that it wasn't safe for passengers, but his warnings were ignored. When David was finally fired, he published an engineering report in 2018 explaining how a carbon fiber hull wouldn't be safe at a depth of 4,000 meters. A legal battle between David and OceanGate's CEO continued, and by the time of the Titan accident, no verdict has been reached. After the accident, when this report became public, it raised many questions about the Titan's build. Since the submersible was still in its experimental phase, how was it used for underwater tourism? Was there nobody in the US that regulates such expeditions? Around this time, OceanGate faced another lawsuit. the family of Paul-Henri Nargeolet, the Titanic shipwreck expert on board, sued OceanGate for millions of dollars, claiming that Paul had visited the Titanic wreck 37 times, more than anyone else in the world, and had more knowledge about it than anyone. The lawsuit stated that OceanGate had hidden its past mistakes from the public, which ultimately cost them their family member. With increasing pressure from the courts and media, a high-level inquiry was urgently needed to determine what caused the Titan to implode and who was to blame. Therefore, a joint investigation was launched by Canada's Transport Safety Board and the U.S. Marine Bureau. This investigation revealed details about the Titan that OceanGate had previously kept hidden. The investigation found that by January 2018, the Titan had been fully manufactured and assembled, but the next month it was sent to the Bahamas for testing, where it was struck by lightning during testing. At that time, the Titan was underwater, so it was survived, but its hull was compromised due to the lightning strike. Even after this event, Titan successfully touched a depth of 4,200 meters, where the sea pressure is 6,154 pounds per square inch. When the Titan passed the 4,200 meters depth test, everyone felt that the carbon fiber hull was safe. However, it was later noted that when testing submersibles for deep-sea expeditions, industry standards required the testing to be conducted at a depth 1.25 times greater than the intended dive depth. The Titanic wreck lies 3,800 meters below, so the Titan should have been tested at a depth of at least 4,750 meters. However, this was not done. And in 2019, a crack was identified in the carbon fiber hull, which was deliberately ignored. Investigators have now released an animation showing the sequence of events from the Titan's launch to its implosion, including the communication between the mothership, Polar Prince, and the Titan. After leaving the Canadian port on June 16, 2023 at 9 a.m., the Polar Prince took 2 days to reach the point in the Atlantic Ocean where the Titanic shipwreck lies 3,800 meters below. On June 18th at 9:19 a.m., the Titan was lowered from the Polar Prince. During the descent, the Titan kept informing the Polar Prince of its depth and location. The Polar Prince was also automatically receiving updates on the Titan's location, descent speed, and depth. At 9:32, the Polar Prince asked, "Have you reached 680 meters?" To which the Titan's pilot responded, "Confirmed." At 9:36, the Polar Prince asked, "What is your dive payload?" The Titan replied, 1,676. These messages continued until 9:51, when the Polar Prince asked, "Do you see Polar Prince on your display?" But this time, there was no response from the Titan. Silence ensued for the next 20 minutes, until 10:13 a.m., when the Polar Prince responded, saying that their chat settings had disappeared. At this point, Paul-Henri Nargeolet took over the conversation, saying, "All good here." It was now 10:15 a.m. At exactly 10:28 a.m., the Titan's depth was 2,744 meters, and they reported being southeast of the Titanic's bow section, which the Polar Prince acknowledged. At 10:41 a.m., the Polar Prince asked them to inform, "When you deploy Niskin bottle, write down time and location," to which the Titan replied, "No Niskin bottle." A Niskin bottle is used to collect samples from the ocean floor. Just minutes later, at 10:47 a.m., when the Titan was at a depth of 3,346 meters, just 454 meters away from the Titanic, it sent its final message, "Drop 2 weights." Submersibles use weights to descend into the water, and the weights can be dropped one by one to reduce the descent speed. After sending this message, contact with the Polar Prince was lost, and no further reply was ever received. The people who sitting inside it had lost their lives. The implosion happened so fast that the entire structure was destroyed, but it didn't even take a millisecond. This means that the people sitting in it were killed immediately in the blink of an eye, but they didn't feel it. Actually, the main body of the Titan, as I said, it was made of carbon fiber, but usually submarines and submersibles are made of steel, titanium, or aluminum. This carbon fiber design of Titan was an experimental design. No one had ever tested the properties of carbon fiber in such depths of the ocean before. And looking at this disaster, we can say that carbon fiber is not a suitable material for this use case. As said by an ocean explorer, Robert Ballard, the man who discovered the wreck of the Titanic in 1985. He said that they have done thousands of dives in different vehicles to get to the bottom of the ocean, but they have never lost a vehicle. This was the first time that a submarine or a submersible imploded in this way.
If you look at our history, it's safer to be in a submarine like Alvin, that I spent many years in, than driving on I-95.
If you see the old interviews of OceanGate Company's CEO, you will hear the same thing again and again. In 2019, a long article was published in Smithsonian Magazine in which the CEO was talking about OceanGate. He said that the U.S. Passenger Vessel Safety Act of 1993 was needlessly prioritizing passenger safety over commercial innovation. He felt that this act is useless and that there is no need to pay so much attention to safety. In another interview last year, he said, "At some point, safety just is pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, don't do anything."
You know, at some point, safety just is pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, don't do anything.
After this, he says, "I've broken some rules to make Titan. I think I've broken them with logic and good engineering behind me.
I've broken some rules to make this. I think I've broken them with logic and good engineering behind me, the carbon fiber and titanium."
The rule stated that carbon fiber and titanium were not to be used, but he used them, broke the rule intentionally. Stockton Rush knew that he was conducting an experiment which could be very dangerous. In March 2018, a deep sea exploration specialist had written in mail to the CEO to be a little conservative about safety. He had written that Rush was putting himself and his clients in danger. In the race to reach the Titanic, Rush was accused of repeating the same phrase. He is unsinkable. If you'd recall, I told you in the Titanic video that people used to blindly believe that the ship was so great that it can never sink, that it was unsinkable. But on that ill-fated day, the ship sank. And now, the same happened with the Titan. In the pages of history, the name of Stockton Rush has now been included in this list of inventors who were killed by their own inventions. This teaches us that safety standards and regulations should never be ignored. If you found this video informative, you can click here to watch the video on Titanic, in which I tell you the entire story of the Titanic from start to end. If you like this video, you will definitely like that too. If you like this video, then support our channel by giving super thanks, subscribe to our channel now, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.